don't really see it much.
So Elon Musk is live right now on
And
Twitter
over
Spaces.
time,
We'll go ahead and listen in.
maybe not that long time, the when you look at mentions and replies and whatnot, the default will be to look at verified. You can still look at unverified, just as in your Gmail or whatever. You can still look at the sort of probable spam folder, or but that is you'll have your inbox of highly likely to be relevant, and then you can still look at all the others, but it will default to the highly relevant category, which will be verified.
Okay, this is good because you're starting to go down this path, and this is certainly the biggest topic that's top of mind for our partners. And it's this idea of content moderation. And I think everybody believes, all of our partners believe, that Twitter should be a force for good. It should be a town square. All voices should be welcome. The concern is, what does that mean for, content moderation, for providing a safe environment? So I guess I'm gonna pair these together. Like, brand safety, it's critical to this industry, and it's been a core tenet and priority for Twitter, as displayed by our partnerships with Garn and several other bodies. How are you thinking about content moderation and brand safety?
Well, thus far, our moderation policies have not changed, nor has the enforcement of those policies changed. It stands to reason that if somebody's advertising that they do not want, super negative information right next to their ad, or a content that may be inappropriate, say, for if it's a sort of family brand having, not safe for work content right next to it, makes no sense. So we are going to work hard to make sure that there's not like bad stuff right next to an ad, which really doesn't serve anyone any good. We're also working hard to improve the relevance of the ads. So an ad in the limit is information if it is highly relevant, but if it is irrelevant, it is noise. And if the ad is noise, it does not serve the advertiser or the user. So I think brands should rest assured that Twitter is a good place to advertise. And if we see things that are creating a problem in that regard, we will take action to address it.
Okay, that's great. What about hate speech specifically? When you talk about bad things next to ads, like...
Yeah, I don't think having hate speech next to an ad is great. Obviously.
Yeah, and I think this is what the concern is exactly of a lot of our partners.
Yes,
a lot of our who is this lady? Her name's Robin. She has 20,000 followers. I don't know who she is. She sounds kind of
hate speech if they
like she's trying to
have paid $8 and are risking
control
the suspension of their
what Twitter's allowed to say or not through advertising.
It's going to be far less.
We'll see.
I mean, if think of it more like if you how much hate speech do you encounter if you go to a party, or just you're at an event with people.
Depends who's hosting the party. Kidding.
But I mean, in most parties, let's say, if you meet people in person, how much hate speech do you actually encounter? It's quite rare. And so it's sort of the but if someone can create 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 troll accounts that are anonymous, that can, and where there's no cost to engaging in harassment or hateful behavior, then you'll get a very small number of people that seem very loud. In general, I have a lot of faith in humanity. The vast majority of people, I think, are good, not bad. They're good. But there's a small number of people who are not good. And if those small number of people who want to engage in terrible behavior are allowed to amplify their voice tremendously with fake accounts, then they will do so. So that's why I think that the only way for any social media company to solve this is with a mild paywall, sort of not a paywall, but a paywall for prominence. And then people will just default to looking at comments and mentions from those that are sort of that are verified. And you really won't see much of the rest. So I think it's the only solution. I cannot think of any other path to having a good system.
Okay, thank you. I'm also going to ask Yoel. Yoel, you've sent a bunch of great tweets out recently. Can you just speak to where we stand with policies, but also, the facts around what we're seeing on the platform today in terms of toxicity?
Absolutely.
What?
So
I've not seen any
first,
toxicity on
to
Twitter.
Again, echo Elon. Our policies have not changed, and our enforcement continues to be focused on being as proactive as we can be to mitigate harm to the people who are using Twitter. There have definitely been a couple of areas where we have seen people test the limits of what the new Twitter is, even though we haven't really changed anything at all. One of the most notable being a spike in hateful conduct on our platform. And I'm going to be sharing another update.
I have not seen any hateful content. They say it exists, but where is it? Where's the hateful content?
Protecting the folks who are using our platform, on shutting down hateful conduct wherever it emerges on our platform. And what we've seen is not only that we've put a stop to the spike in hateful conduct, but that the level of hateful activity on the service is now about 95% lower than it was before the acquisition. The changes that we've made and the proactive enforcements that we've carried out are making Twitter safer relative to where it was before. And so my ask of everyone would be, judge us by our results. And the results, the proof that we're going to be sharing, the data that I'm going to continue to provide, shows us that we're going to keep investing in making Twitter safer for everyone every day, and in delivering on that vision of creating a welcoming platform that Elon talked about.
So this is the lady that's talking, Rob Wheeler. She's talking right now.
David Cohen, who is the CEO of the IAB, the Interactive Ad Bureau, which is, as we all know, one of the governing bodies of our ad industry. And he's a very trusted name and partner. Given this is such an important topic, David, what can we answer for you?
Appreciate that. Thank you. I would just want to start by saying that we are rooting for you and for Twitter. So at the risk of that not being obvious, this is not a softball question, and it's something that we're hearing.
No,
from
he's lying. He's
many of our
lying.
members, so I thought it'd be a good time to ask. We all have a brand. There is the Elon brand and how it shows up on Twitter, and there is Twitter as a platform and business that the world and the marketing community have come to know and love, warts and all. Those two things can sometimes blur. So the question is, how should we think about the coexistence of those two distinct but obviously related perspectives?
Ditch these guys, Elon.
Right.
Say whatever you want.
If I say that Twitter is doing something, then I mean Twitter, and if I say I, then I mean me.
Yes.
If there's any confusion about the two, then I would just ask me on Twitter, basically. But obviously, Twitter cannot simply be some extension of me, because then anyone who doesn't agree with me will be put off. So Twitter must be, as a platform, as neutral as possible. That doesn't mean I'm completely neutral. That would be untruthful. I am not neutral. No person is.
Right.
But it's important to have broad acceptance of the platform, that the platform be neutral, and as sort of as inclusive as possible to the widest demographic possible. That is the only path to success.
He wants Elon to only say.
Could I do a quick follow-up?
Elon has to stay in line, apparently.
Okay, this is a totally different question. In my experience, and for what we hear from our members, 700 plus strong.
Wow, you're so powerful, buddy.
Scale, relevance,
I guess he actually is,
safety and suitability, ability to measure, understand what I put stimulus in the market, what does it do for my bottom line, and then an impactful creative canvas. Of those 5 things, where do you think Twitter is today? And where are you going to spend the majority of your time in the immediate term?
Well, I think we're probably not doing great on any of them. Doing okay on some. We're terrible at relevance, I think. And one of the ways we're going to address that is by integrating ads into recommended tweets. So the relevance of recommended tweets is much better than the relevance of the ads because they're two different engines. We need to have them be the same software stack. So I've reorganized Twitter software from having 3 different software groups to having one. And that's occurred just in the past week. So we really need to improve the relevance of the ads. As I mentioned earlier, if an ad is highly relevant and timely, then it's really information. Like it's something you might actually want to buy when you want to buy it. That's great. But if it's something you'd never want to buy, then it's annoying and it's spam, and that doesn't serve the advertiser or the user.
Mm-hmm.
So that's incredibly important to improve that. That's a major priority, and I think you'll see that get way better in the coming months.
I appreciate it. I'll pass it back to you, Robin.
I mean, at the end of the day, like at a high level, Twitter needs to be useful to advertisers in both the short term in driving demand, and in the long term, hence the brand safety. I mean, at the end of the day, it's short term and long term demand is kind of what it comes down to. So drive sales in the short term and protect the demand in the long term.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, thanks, David, and feel free to jump in if you have more questions. Okay. I would just say, like, Elon, I like hearing you say short and long term. I think we've heard a lot about subscriptions. We know that's important to your strategy, but like, can you say anything more about long term and the role advertising plays within Twitter, both in the subscriptions piece as well as the non-subscriptions piece?
Well, it's just there's. I just mean that when I hear brand safety, what I think I'm hearing is that we need to make sure that the brand overall is protected reputationally in the long term. So that there may be something that drives short-term sales, but is next to hateful content, and that may drive short-term sales, but is ultimately detrimental in the long term. So that's. If I were to put myself in the CEO or CMO position of any advertiser, I'd say, well, I want to make sure we do drive sales in the short term, but we're also not doing anything that damages our reputation in the long term. So we also need to address both short and long term factors.
That makes sense.
Right. Okay. One thing that we glossed, that we didn't dive in enough on when we talked about content moderation, was this idea of your content moderation council. I know you tweeted about that last week, I think. Can you say anything else about that? Like, where are we at with it? What is it going to look like? How will it work? I know that's top of mind for everyone.
Sure. Well, I think that's, we want to have an advisory council that represents a diverse set of viewpoints. That is representative of, like I said, a wide range of viewpoints in the U.S. and internationally. Now, in the short term, like I've only got the keys to the building, a week ago Friday. So, I'm moving pretty fast here, but it tends to take a moment to completely rewrite the software stack, but I can say that the rate of evolution of Twitter will be an immense step change compared to what it has been in the past.
That's already true. There's no doubt about it.
If nothing else, I am a technologist, and I can make technology go fast, and that's what you'll see happen at Twitter.
Yep, that's true. And actually, you tweeted earlier today something about there's going to be dumb things coming in months.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that is, yeah. Well, because you're moving so fast, right? What do you, yeah, go ahead.
Obviously the intent is not to do dumb things.
Right.
We're not aspirationally dumb. We're aspirationally, not dumb. But despite being aspirationally not dumb, we will still do dumb things. And there's some element here of nothing ventured, nothing gained. If we do not try bold moves, how will we make great improvements?
That's true.
We have to try. We have to be adventuresome here, and then I think we can make some really big leaps, and have radical improvements. And then, but these come with some risk, and so. But the key is to be extremely agile. And so if we do make a dumb move, or when we make a dumb move, because we're not going to always knock the ball out of the park. But when we make a dumb move, we correct it quickly. That's what really matters.
Yeah, well, and for the record, we're seeing, record-breaking user growth on the platform since you took the keys. So that's excellent. And, there's been a lot of conversation around Vine. And can you just talk about some of the stuff you're really excited about from a product perspective? Aside from, we've already talked about subscriptions, but
Dogecoin?
What else? You've said to me to the team, before about video and all those kinds of things. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, video is definitely an area where Twitter has been historically weak, and it is an area that we're going to invest in tremendously. And this is, I did ask people what their interest was in Vine. Not that we would want to resurrect Vine in its original state, but just would they want a Vine-like thing, but reimagined for the future? And people were very excited about that. One of the things if somebody does become sort of a paid blue verified is that they will be able to initially use or download 10 minutes of high def video, which will be expanding to 42 minutes soon, and then several hours as we sort of fix a bunch of stuff on the back end servers. There are a bunch of fundamental technology architecture changes that are needed at Twitter in order to support significant video. So we've got to make those core software upgrades and server upgrades in order to support a large amount of video, but we are absolutely going to do that. It's kind of a no-brainer. We also need to enable monetization of content for creators, and if we provide creators with the ability to post what they create on our platform and to monetize it at a rate that is at least competitive with the alternatives, then of course creators will natively post their content on Twitter. Why not? So those are kind of no-brainer moves. Then also keyed off of verification, paid verified, is that now we know that this is someone who has been authenticated by the payment system, by the sort of conventional payment system. Now we can say okay, you've got a balance on your account. Do you want to send money to someone else within Twitter? And maybe we pre-populate their account with and say, okay, we're going to give you, $10, and you can send it anywhere within Twitter. Then if you want to get it out of the system, then okay, well now you need to send it to a bank account. So now attach an authenticated bank account to your Twitter account. Then the next step would be let's offer an extremely compelling money market account, so you get extremely high yield on your balance. Then why not move cash into Twitter? Great, that sounds like a good idea. And then add debit cards, checks, and whatnot. And I think it will be just basically make the system as useful as possible. And the more useful and entertaining it is, the more people will use it.
That's right. Amen to that.
Hey, Robin, I've got a follow-up if that's okay.
Yes.
So I'm getting a tsunami of tweets and texts, as you would imagine. So lots of questions out in the world. One of them, I guess the headline is, there's a challenge with some of your tweets, Elon, and that they leave a lot to interpretation.
No.
You had something around truth versus high quality journalism and news. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how you see those two things as different or the same?
Well, I do think that we should be empowering citizen journalism, in that you know, if you say, like, how is the narrative defined? How's the Western narrative defined? And I think at this, you know, right now, I think it's overly defined by.
So this is the guy talking. Let's see what some of his past tweets are. Let's see who this guy is.
That I think is not as good as enabling the people to define the narrative as well. And in other words, elevating citizen journalism. I mean, I think we've all seen articles in major newspapers where we know a lot about what actually happened, and what we know that what actually happened is not what is represented in that article. Now, then why would you think it's different for anything else?
Got it. So this is not an either or. This is in your mind. This is in addition to. High quality journalism has a role in the world and on Twitter, clearly.
Absolutely.
And, okay. Got it.
No question. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
but a lot of it's not high quality.
Downplay the major publications or prominent journalists. I'm simply saying we should elevate the people, and give voice to the people. Vox populi, vox dei.
Understood. Thanks.
What about fact checking and fighting misinformation?
Yeah, so I'm super excited by the community notes feature, formerly known as Birdwatch. Birdwatch sounded like a bit too much like we're watching you. I'm like, no, let's just be chill. Community notes,
makes sense.
And actually, that was the original name of the product. It's awesome, and we're gonna really go pedal to the metal on community notes, and the way it works, I think, is actually very exciting. In fact, Keith's not on, or maybe he is, but I highly recommend looking at the community notes feature. It's epic. So this is really going to help in improving the accuracy of what's said on the system. It's analogous to the way sort of PageRank works in Google, where the prominence of a web page is proportionate to how much weight other prominent web pages give that web page. It's easy to, if you just search Birdwatch or community notes on Twitter, you'll see how it works. And I think it's a game changer in my view.
It is. Should have been with Twitter a long time ago.
Okay, great. I'm just getting a ton of questions as well, Elon. This one is specifically about the auto industry, which you happen to be a member of as well.
I know a little bit about cars.
Yes, I think you do. What can you share with this community that's concerned about data protection, or how your alternative interests related to Tesla would kind of bleed over into this current role?
Well, I think it's I certainly would encourage other car makers to continue advertising on Twitter, and I would also encourage their Twitter handles to be more active, and for their CEOs and CMOs to be more active on the system, and in general, I would say for brands, I think brands should tweet more, executives should tweet more. I think that sometimes I would encourage people just to be more adventurous. Like that's certainly what I've done on.
They're not going to like that.
With Tesla and myself and SpaceX, and it's worked out quite well. But I'm definitely not going to do anything which is somehow advantageous to Tesla, because that's going to totally turn off any automotive advertiser. So it has to be a level playing field, or we won't get automotive advertisers. So Yeah. I don't know what else to say, but it's except that if there's, we're just going to try to be as fair as possible.
Awesome. Oh, go ahead, David. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I got another one. I'm pretty sure I'm going to ask all these questions. It'll be the last time I'm invited onto a Spaces, but here goes nothing. The check mark used to stand for something. Now, anyone that pays $8 a month can get the check mark. What's the process by which accounts are verified in this new world?
Well, it is so someone has to have a phone and a credit card and $8 a month. So that's the bar. However, we will actively suspend accounts engaged in deception or trickery of any kind. So it is a leveling of the playing field.
This is the lady that was talking, by the way, Robin Wheeler.
It will be less special, obviously, to have a check mark. But I think this is a good thing. But if there's impersonation, trickery, deception, we will actively be suspending accounts. So I think it's going to be a good world. Don't we believe in, one person, one vote? I think we do, So I actually just don't like the lords and peasants situation where some people have blue check marks and some don't. And this is, at least the United States,
okay.
we fought a war to get rid of that stuff.
Not reacting to Elon, reacting to this tweet. That's smart by Elon.
This is just philosophically how I feel, and maybe this is a dumb decision, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of nuance to it. The blue check mark could go
David, were you going to follow
poorly,
up and ask
and
if
they could
brands
take
have
it
to
back.
pay? Because that's
that was one. Or obviously this is a double-edged sword. It's not clearly black or white. There's clearly another side to the equation. And Elon, as you said, you're going to try it, and if it doesn't work, then you'll quickly pivot. I think that's a smart approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, do brands have to pay? Do marketers have to pay?
Well, we are trying to be, equal treatment situation. So
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. If somebody's really hell bent on not paying, I'll pay it for them.
Okay. Good. We heard that here. All right. We'll send you the bill.
That's good to know.
Speaking of being equal.
Okay, Elon, I'm eager on not paying.
The other question that we keep getting
out.
is, do the same rules apply to you, Elon, that apply to everyone else on the platform?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But I think we also are going to be trying to be more forgiving. Provided someone is not actively engaged in fraud. If somebody missteps, then I think we should maybe give them a temporary suspension, but then allow them back on the platform. But if they keep doing it deliberately, then of course they should be permanently suspended. But we have. I think we just need to. Forgiveness is just a very important principle.
A lot of banned accounts coming back. That's for sure.
As long as an account is not, takes corrective action and does not do bad things repeatedly, then they shouldn't be suspended permanently. But if they do bad things repeatedly and deliberately, then they should be suspended permanently.
Joel, do you want to jump in on that? Speak to how we do it right now.
Totally. Let's kind of take a step back in the history of trust and safety stuff on platforms. For many years, the only thing that Twitter could do was delete tweets and ban accounts. That was our only tool for content moderation. And so we did quite a bit of that. We deleted a bunch of tweets and we banned a bunch of accounts. But one of the directions that we're trying to build towards is having more tools in our toolbox to be able to reduce the harmful impacts of content without always having to go to that step of a ban. And so in the coming days and weeks, you're going to see us start to introduce some of these new concepts and frameworks for content moderation. My focus and my team's focus is how can we enable as much speech as we can while preventing the potential harmful impacts of that speech. And as Elon said, sometimes the only way to mitigate harm is to ban somebody. But we think there's a lot of other stuff that we can do from warning messages to interstitials to reducing the reach of content that we haven't fully explored in the past. And you're going to see us move quickly to build some of these new tools and to integrate that with our policy approach.
Exactly. That's very well said, Yoel. I pretty much think we want a diversity of viewpoints within Twitter. Sort of a Lincoln-esque cabinet, if you will.
Interesting.
Representing a diversity of viewpoints. But at the end of the day, like, the success will be if people like Twitter, they will use it and they will use more frequently, and we'll get more people joining. And if advertisers and brands, if companies like Twitter, they will use it and they will buy advertising, and if they don't, they won't. And so the proof is in the pudding. So, and I think it will be a good thing. And we're really going to agonize a lot about what is right, what should be done, what is a force for good in the long term. And sometimes we'll be wrong about that, and we'll, like I said, take corrective action. But really, I think we'll see, like, if we're doing a good job, we'll see user growth be high. We'll see advertising interest be strong if we do a good job, and if we will see the opposite if we don't.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about this earlier. I think just in terms of not wanting, certain types of content, like being the town square and allowing voices of all shapes and sizes. Like, how are you thinking about choice on the platform? And, like, certain people are comfortable with certain content, others are less comfortable. Like, can you talk a little bit about that vision and how that's going to come to life, and, like, when you think we can see that? Because I think that's really an important point for folks to understand.
Sure. I think there's a big difference between freedom of speech and freedom of reach. So at least in the United States, we're big believers in freedom of speech. So somebody can say all sorts of things that we don't agree with and find unsavory. Like, if you just were to go to Times Square right now, there's going to be somebody saying something crazy. But we don't throw them in prison for that. But we also don't give them, put them on a gigantic billboard on Times Square. So there's we have to be, I think, tolerant of views we don't agree with, but those views don't need to be amplified. That's like I said, giant difference between freedom of speech and freedom of reach. And I mean, these are difficult moral concepts to grapple with. Like I said, we'll do our best to do the right thing here, what we think is the right thing, and adjust course if that does not seem to be working.
Okay, I'm just getting more questions, so I know we're going in different directions here, but some of our retail partners were excited to hear you talk about commerce and everything you just outlined. Can you say how this could come to life and how it could help merchants of all sizes accelerate their business? Because that's kind of what they're hearing.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot to do on the software side. I can't emphasize that enough. So we've got to write a lot of code here, and we've got to change a bunch of the existing code base. So, but we want advertising to be, like I said, as like highly relevant and timely, and really try approach in the limit. How do we get the ad to be as close to content as possible? I mean, if you're shown an opportunity to buy something that you actually want, when you want it, that's great. That's content. It's something. It's like, wow, you just served somebody's need. That's awesome. On the other hand, then the other side of the spectrum is if you show somebody a product that they would never want, then it's not helping. It's not helping the company who's advertising. It's not helping the user. So we're going to be super focused on like how do we get it as relevant, make that ad as relevant and useful as possible. We will also be quite rigorous, or aspire to be rigorous about any product that is. We will not allow products that don't work or are actually, in some cases, just. I mean, I bought a few products based on YouTube ads that didn't work, and I thought, damn it, YouTube should really have not allowed that ad. And we on Twitter, we're going to be like, okay, we need to serve the user, we need to serve the advertiser, and when both are served, we have a good situation. So, and then from a commerce standpoint, if you're able to buy things quick, effortlessly on Twitter, with one click, that's great. Like the more we don't want to make buying things inconvenient or require, going through many steps. The easier it is to obtain the product or service that you want, the better it is for the user.
Yeah, no one is going to argue with having a more performant product and solution and more relevant ads from our clients and partners. David, were you going to speak?
Yes, I got another one. So clearly, Elon, Twitter and you are moving quickly and decisively. You mentioned a content moderation council that is going to be put together. I guess the question is, how quickly is that going to materialize, and who's going to be comprised of whom? What kinds of folks do you think?
Man, that's a hard one to answer. I think it'll probably take us a few months to put that together. I mean, certainly a lot of people that want to be on it. But this will be an advisory council, not a command council. It's basically so that the leaders at Twitter can hear what a lot of people have to say, and just make sure that it's that we're not sort of being numb to the pain of what people are feeling. Basically, are we listening carefully? But just going back to what I mentioned earlier with respect to the community notes feature, in terms of accuracy and truthfulness, that's going to be very powerful. And I think it will obviate the need for a lot of the content stuff that currently is in place. I think. And look, I'm open to ideas. If you have thoughts here, that would be good to know. What do you think we should do?
Yeah, we absolutely do. And we get feedback all the time, so we can absolutely do that offline.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
I can say that the aspiration is very much to do the right thing, and I think the best evidence for us doing the right thing will be that more people are signing up, they're spending more time in the system, that it's working for advertisers as well.
Just a quick add-on to the content council. Even
we got the comment under that.
Also weigh in on account suspension.
We'll see.
And how you think about banning folks?
I think weigh in is the correct word. At the end of the day, I am the chief twit here, so the responsibility is mine. I think it's difficult to really say anything. To say anything else would I think be disingenuous. It is both. It is. If things go wrong, it's my fault, because the buck stops with me. But I would like to hear what people have to say, and and then we'll make our decisions accordingly. And obviously, if I make decisions that people don't like, then advertisers will leave the system, and users will leave the system, and we will fail.
I appreciate you saying that, actually, because I would like to know what you would have to say to the brands that are paused or holding on running right now during this transition.
Bye. That's what I would say. I mean, they should have never left in the first place. Twitter's the same as it was in many ways, just better.
Evolving. But really, the best way to see how things are evolving is just use Twitter, and see, well, how's your experience? Has your experience changed? Is it better? Is it worse? As you all was saying, actually,
more exciting,
more rigorous.
The controversy is limited, which is, in my opinion, bad. But advertisers like that. I mean, there's no reason to turn off the ad fountain.
So, my observation of Twitter over the past few weeks is that the content is actually improving, not getting worse. I mean, if there's anyone on the call who'd like to speak up, if they think this is actually not the case, please say so.
Okay. Well, what I will say is that you have repeatedly said you want feedback and suggestions and thoughts. So this community is, as you have seen, is not afraid to speak up and has plenty of suggestions and ideas and wants to be engaged with. So that's definitely going to be an ongoing as well as a firm next step.
Yeah, I mean, something that's I can't emphasize enough. To advertisers, brands, and the best way to understand what's going on with Twitter is use Twitter. And if there's something that you don't like, reply to one of my tweets, and I'll do my best to respond. But I think it's actually getting better, not worse. And the person they're putting, you just use Twitter and see how it feels to you. I think it's actually going in a good direction. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end here, so I'm going to give you the floor to say whatever you want, and then I can wrap it up.
Okay. Well, I'm probably being a bit repetitive here, but like I said, the larger goal is to do things that serve the greater interests of civilization, and have Twitter ultimately be a force that is moving civilization in a positive direction where people think is a good thing for the world. And the evidence for that will be new users signing up and more people using Twitter for longer. And I think also if you were to use Twitter for an hour a day, that when you look back, you don't regret the time. That's actually also kind of important. You don't want something that's, let's say, hyper addictive, but then you look back and you're like, man, I kind of regret how I spent that hour. You want to enjoy using Twitter and find it entertaining, informative, funny, and then when you look back at the time you spent on Twitter, not regret it.
Okay, so Robin Wheeler.
I think that then we will have succeeded.
So she's not a Zeldin fan, apparently. I believe he's the governor. He's the mayor candidate.
To Yoel, to Elon,
in New York, I think.
Everyone on this call, to our partners for asking the tough questions, for pushing us.
I believe the Republican candidate.
And to being with us through this transition.
Let me know if I'm wrong.
As I said in the beginning, we're here. Our team is here, and we are committed to serving you as we have. We are committed to answering your questions and to helping you feel comfortable through this transition. And we want you to continue to push us, to ask questions, and to trust us. And
no, do not trust them, Elon. Do not trust them. Do not trust them.
So
don't rely on them. Don't trust them. Find new advertisers. Change things.
And see you out there.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I guess it's ending now. Don't do it, Elon. Do not do it. The people who have been controlling the media space and the advertising space for far too long have just simply had their own interest at heart. They want to make more money. They do not care about anything else besides generally speaking, growing their businesses, which is completely fine, normal, but also they tend to really cater to things that are less free speech friendly. And at the end of the day, we want to have more free speech in our society. We want people to be able to say what they want, not just because it'll make politicians better, but because it'll make politicians better on both sides. So if Democrats will be better, Republicans will be better. That's what free speech creates. And right now we live in a world where we do not have the best from Republicans and we do not have the best from Democrats. In fact, far from it. And so that's why we absolutely need Elon Musk to stand strong here. That's why we need Elon to be pushing for the people stuff like Dogecoin acceptance, to be pushing all types of things like that. That is what is ideal and most important here, is for him to just really focus on what the people want. He did a poll. Do not listen to anyone else besides the poll. What do the people want? We'll go ahead and look at that poll in a second here. I'm actually going to unretweet this. Unretweet. I'll still leave it up, but we'll unretweet. Maybe they'll ask it in the next one. But Elon Musk on Twitter, we can go ahead and go to his profile here. He did a poll, and he pinned it to his profile for a while, but it's not currently pinned, I believe. And in the poll, Elon Musk asked, what would you prefer for advertisers to cater to? Do you want them to cater to free speech, or do you want them to cater to, I think it was, I forget what the other option was, but it was, actually, let me just scroll down and find it, so I don't say the wrong thing. But I don't think it's that far down. Okay, maybe it's actually probably a decent ways down. But Elon Musk, he doesn't tweet that much on his main thread. I mean, he'll do a lot of replies, but on his main thread, we should be able to get down there pretty fast. There we go. So what would you rather support? Freedom of speech or political correctness? And 78.3% of 2.7 million votes said they would rather support freedom of speech than political correctness. At the end of the day, political correctness does not truly make anyone's life better. It just doesn't. Good policy is what makes people's lives better. And political correctness can often cause politicians to feel like they don't need to do good policy because they can rely on other things in order to get elected. And that should never be the case. We need to live in a world where the Democrat is good and the Republican is good. I will never stop driving home that point because it is so immensely true. And so we'll have to make sure we're paying attention closely to this. But at the end of the day, that's what matters. That's what people want. 78% picked free speech. That's the vast majority of individuals. So you can rest assured, if you are part of that 75%, which I imagine you are, because most good-hearted people are. If you're not, I mean, that we can have a different discussion about that. If you tell me why. Why? If you actually said political correctness on that poll, tell me why. What's the reason why you think political correctness is more important than free speech? I would actually love to hear your opinion and get your thoughts on that. Because I mean, some people did press that. 25% do believe that's the case. And so I would actually wonder why. And do you think, wouldn't you agree that if that is the case and advertisers do choose political correctness over free speech, that would lead to worse Democrats and worse Republicans? How is there any other option? How is there any other outcome? I think maybe the people who put that are just not understanding fully kind of the ramifications of what this could mean. I think that's likely what it is. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Apparently there's a bot trying to get under people's skin. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Not! You're gonna get banned, bot. Well, I need my moderation force in full steam here. Maybe Elon Musk can lend me a few moderators and we can get this thing more moderated. No more bots. We don't like the bots. We got to get rid of them. But at the end of the day, Elon Musk, the main thing to drive home, do not, under any circumstances, trust these people telling you to trust them. They are motivated more so by a wide variety of other things than they actually are to protecting free speech and to making sure Twitter is a better platform. If be somewhat at the level of keeping your enemies closer, that's good, right? You don't want to fully do anything bad, but do not put too much power in their hands. Do not trust them too much. Focus right now on building out a way for individuals to advertise on Twitter more. That's the most important first step. Like YouTube has. If you want to run a YouTube ad right now, it doesn't matter who you are. You can make a video, and as long as you get approved, you can run a YouTube ad right now. You can run a Google ad. Twitter needs to be of the same variety. Anyone can run an ad. Anyone can easily access that. They need to build out a full advertising suite. And Elon Musk, if anyone can do it, he's certainly capable of it. He's going to demand more from the employees. He's going to make sure they're working on these things at a much faster rate. He can also work on some of his previous experience with designing all of this stuff through all of his other companies. He knows how to manage these things, right? He knows what he's doing. And so as long as he can implement that in a way that actually leads to more people not only using Twitter, using those features, but more importantly, for the purpose of making money, being able to advertise on an individual level without having to rely on these massive corporate interests, that's going to be good. I mean, this guy, Mr. D. Cohen, he said he has access to 700 advertisers. In what possible world do we have 700 advertisers and this one man gets to make the decision? What? Why? Those advertisers should be independently deciding what they want to go with. Who in the world would want to set up a type of system where one man can control 700 different interests of completely different companies with different goals in mind, different viewpoints, and yet somehow one man can represent it all? I just don't think that makes any sense. I would hope that the system changes. I imagine it probably won't. I mean, let's not be naive, right? We know the way the world works. You make more money the more people you have, and if you're one of the top guys in the industry, you're going to get a lot of people, or one of the top women too. But the point is, don't trust these people. At the end, we were told by where's her profile? Okay, I just responded to her, so we'll find her profile. But we were told by her, trust us. But why? What have you done to prove your worthiness of being trusted? I do not think you should be yet. You have to prove that first. If you can prove that you are trustworthy, then at that point, Elon can trust you. But before then, it seemed very skeptical. She seemed to have a very talking down type of tone. This lady here, Robin Wheeler, she seemed to be kind of demeaning in the way she was talking to Elon, as if she said, our partners, we just are concerned about this. We're concerned about this. And I mean, I get it. She has partners. Cool. But at the end of the day, Robin Wheeler seemed to be putting herself in the position of, we're in charge here. We're going to be the ones that decide what happens. And yet also trust us. It's just kind of a strange combination there. I really, really, truly hope Elon Musk can find more and more ways to not have to trust anyone who's in the advertising industry, because it's similar to real estate. A lot of snakes in the industry. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It is what it is, right? And that's not to say it's not a good industry to be in. I mean, sometimes that's good to be a snake in certain industries. Like, you got to be one in certain industries if you want to succeed. So, I mean, I get that. It's worth it for those individuals. But at the same time, if you're entering the industry and you're not of the snake variety, then you're going to have a much harder time competing in said industry. And so I think that's just an important thing to drive home. But Robin Wheeler, she doesn't even have a verified mark yet. I imagine she will probably pay for the $8 and get it, or maybe she'll get it just anyway. She says, attempting to live in moderation and failing miserably, mother of lively girls Quinn and Parker, wife of Wheels Jaw Jack, and proud Twitter client solutions leader. Interesting. So this is her husband, Jay Wheeler. That's him right there. And it says ballast point on his hat. I don't know what that means. But yeah, this is her husband here. Not that that necessarily matters, but she put it in her profile, so I figured I'll just take a look real quick. Is that not real time, non-real time tweet of me and Uncle Ricardo in heaven above the clouds? Turns out they require masks in heaven too. Okay, Rob Wheeler. They require masks in heaven now, apparently. I mean, the truth is, if this was from 2020 when everyone was still kind of confused about all this, but yeah, the truth is, if you're outside, you don't actually need a mask. We now know that, according to all of the experts. So but at this point, it is kind of funny to look back and see, like, everyone thought you were supposed to wear a mask. If you're literally outside in the sun, especially, you don't obviously you don't need a mask, right? But at that time, no one really knew, and so everyone was just being concerned and being worried. I guess maybe if you're like right next to someone outside, but if you're like on a hike, I don't really see anyone still sticking to that belief that originally people had because of fear, which makes sense. I mean, if you're scared, you do things that maybe aren't necessarily going to be the most logical, but it is what it is. Good news, I got my, I don't know why, who cares about her husband? I don't even know why I'm on his page, whatever. But yeah, FTX coin, we'll talk about this for a little bit before coming off. 343 now, continuing to fall. FTX, one of the biggest exchanges in the world. Some people clocking it as a top 3 exchange, along with Binance. And so with this falling, I mean, that takes away a huge segment of trust in cryptocurrency. It does. But at the same time, it kind of had to happen. FTX was making bad decisions. This had no other option but to end this way. It was just a matter of time of when it was going to happen. And if he had made smarter decisions, we wouldn't be in this position, plain and simple. So that's what should have happened. It could have happened. We could have been in a much better area right now, and we're not. And so now Dogecoin having to fall to 8 cents, down 38% this week. We saw Ethereum down 25% this week. And yes, we're going to see some rebounds across the board here, but it still sucks that we had to even go through this at all, because otherwise we would still be in a strong position in the market. The market was getting ready to break out, and then this happened, and it took away all of the major momentum. There's still some lines of momentum that are running along and could potentially poke out. So we're still waiting and watching those lines of momentum. But the main big momentum the crypto market was having has been slashed. It has been. We have to be honest about that. And we'll continue to monitor this, of course, and see what happens. But to see a coin like this fall that much, I mean, at the top, it was worth $73. It's such a major coin. Now it's worth that amount. It's worth the same as you could have purchased it for all the way back in like 2020. So it's just crazy to think about that. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not going to let it get us down too much. I'm not going to let it get me down too much. I'm Matt Wallace. This is Fast Stand, and I will see you during the next Dogecoin spike.